Hello, Uncle Ted, your ice cream alchemist with ice cream every day. This is honey cornbread custard ice cream. I saw this on Reddit and I saw how he had done it. I thought, you know what, I can do a better job. This is what I came up with, and it's amazing. My friends who have tried it love it. I didn't do anything fancy. I just used cornbread out of a box mix. I used what I normally do. It is 2 cups heavy cream, 1 cup whole milk, third of a cup of honey, half cup sugar. I'm going to use a third of the cornbread mix, and then 2 teaspoons of the butter extract, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then 8 teaspoons of guar gum, as well as 4 egg yolks. And then the cornbread, I just baked it in the oven like normal, and I pulled it out, let it cool because I didn't want to burn my fingers, and I'll explain why I did it later on. But yeah, I cooked it in my skillet like you're supposed to. For dairy, I put the dairy in a cold pan as always, and then I turn down the heat to low. I always start with a cold pan because I don't want to scorch anything, and I really want my dairy to heat up slowly. Heat up slow, get into trouble slow. Now for eggs, I am going to go ahead and to separate the eggs from the yolks, the whites. Obviously, I'm going to hang on to the egg whites. They're useful for a lot of things, and I always get the boogers off the yolks because I don't like boogers. And then I add half a cup of sugar to my egg yolks, and I beat those until they are at ribbon stage. And look at the volume. You'll notice that the volume really expands as I do this because I'm whipping a lot of air into the egg yolks and sugar. And then once I have that at ribbon stage, then they call it ribbon because then you can draw a ribbon on top of it and it doesn't instantly sink down into the egg yolks. And then I add half a cup of the non-fat dairy into my milk, and I do it slowly in batches so that it doesn't turn into a bunch of clumps. Dry non-fat milk is really important to absorb extra moisture and to help with scoopability, as well as give it some structure so when it starts to warm up it doesn't melt into a clump. Now I'm going to temper the eggs by slowly adding in batches my hot dairy into the egg mixture, and I'm going to do it in batches while mixing it up so that it doesn't cook the eggs. I'm not making breakfast. I don't want cooked bits of egg in this. I am heating up the eggs so that when I cook them, they don't scramble. And I just do that in little phases here, 3 or 4 times, and boom, I'm done. As soon as I get that all mixed, it just goes right back on the oven or stove, excuse me, and then I'm gonna cook that up to 165 degrees, and I'm gonna hold it at 165 degrees so that I can cook out all the cooties. If you hold it at 165 degrees for at least 1 minute, then it's safe. The other way to know that you've got your eggs fully cooked is when you can draw across the spoon and it doesn't run. And I've shown that before in other videos. Now, once I've got that back on the stove, that's when I'm going to add my honey. And like I said, I'm using a third of a cup of honey here. And I got lucky, I got some local honey. And that was the last of it too. I need to get more. But once it gets up to 165 degrees and it's done, then I'm going to go ahead and strain it because you want to make sure that you don't have any bits of egg and all those other little things. So I just pour it through a strainer to get all the solids out in case I missed any, and in this case there were a few. I'll admit I'm not perfect. Sometimes I get a few, so that's why I strain them. And then once I strain them, then I'm going to go ahead and add my butter extract as well as my vanilla extract. Once I have my extracts added, that's when I'm going to add the cornbread. So with the cornbread, like I said, I'm going to use a third of this batch that I cooked in my cast iron skillet. And I just cooked it according to the manufacturer's instructions. I mean, it's cornbread. It's real simple to make. And I got lucky. The stuff was 45 cents a box, so I went with it. And all I do is I just crumble it up in my hands. Originally, the guy on Reddit, what he had done was he had roasted the cornmeal and then ran the milk through that. But I wanted to have actual cornbread in my batch, so that's what I did here. I just crumbled it up and bit by bit took my time and made sure to get it all nice and crumbly. And by the way, this is just a few minutes after pulling it out of the oven, so I didn't let it sit out to dry or anything like that. I kept it fresh. And that's, I think, important. I think it actually made a difference in the final product. So after I get it all crumbled up and put in the batch, that's when I went ahead and used my mixer to give it a good mixing. This way if there's any larger pieces, give it time to properly mix in. And so once I've got it all mixed in, then we need to put it in the refrigerator for at least 12 hours. I actually got busy and had to leave it for a full 24. I ran out of plastic wrap. So what I did was I took parchment paper and I used parchment paper to cover this. This way I didn't end up with the skin forming on top when it was in the refrigerator for that time period. And you've seen pastry chefs do this. You take it, you fold it, cut it, and then you just put it in there. And it actually worked fairly well. When I pulled it out of the refrigerator 24 hours later, I didn't have a skin on top, and I was real happy about that. And then I just put it in according to the manufacturer's instructions. It's a very rich custard, and folks, this stuff is amazing. Now, I appreciate the support that everybody's given me. I hope you make this. It's fairly easy, and honestly, it is so good. But thank you for your support. Thank you if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And remember, if you're not eating ice cream for breakfast, then what's the point of being an adult?